Hi, friends. I hope you are well. Today we are going to talk about hormones, the hows and the whys of their effects on our voices. I mean, most of us have dealt with the whole hormone situation either personally or vicariously. I would love to share every nerdy, exciting little thing that I learned, but I won't. You're welcome. I will only tell you the things that are pertinent to you as a voice teacher or coach because I want you to have this information to add to your existing awesomeness. So stay with me. I am Meredith Colby. I am the author of Money Notes, How to Sing High, Loud, Healthy, and Forever, which introduces neurovocal, an approach to teaching voice and singing that is based on neuroscience. I teach professional development classes for voice teachers and coaches. If you would be generous and just click the thumbs or the hearts, I sure do appreciate it. Now, let's talk about hormones. Why do we want to talk about hormones? Here's why. Because we all have them and we know that they do stuff to our bodies. We know they are more or less active at different times in our lives and even different times of the month. As most of us know, some people do not experience that effect, but most of us do. Am I right? So as voice professionals, we have experienced the effects of hormones directly, maybe on our own bodies, and indirectly, and maybe both. So let's take a look at why that is. Why do hormones affect our voices? So typically, not always, but typically, we can tell the difference between a person who grew up with an estrogen-influenced body versus an androgen or testosterone-influenced body. The reason we can tell the difference is because of secondary sex characteristics. Now, these are physical traits that are influenced by hormones that are not directly tied to reproduction. Secondary sex characteristics are things that happen, but we don't need them to make more of us. So the secondary sex characteristic that we care about is the voice. The connective tissue of your vocal folds has these little receptors for hormones. The times that we are most affected by hormonal levels in the body are during adolescence, during menses, and during menopause. So as in the rest of our lives, women have it harder. What is the deal? What happens with androgen receptors is that they increase the muscle mass and they will also increase the size of the organ itself. So someone who is strongly influenced by testosterone is going to get a deeper voice because bigger instrument and more muscle mass. We're going to come back to estrogen in teens in a second, but I'm going to jump ahead to menopause because this also happens in menopausal women. When the estrogen levels drop, which is what happens in menopause, it's practically the definition of menopause is our natural estrogen levels begin to diminish. Those androgen receptors are still there and our bodies are still making androgen. So what happens with menopausal women, we can hit lower notes. We get a different kind of a richness to our voices and we may or may not lose high notes. Some people do, some people don't. It is universal and also very individual. And then in adolescence, when the body is flooded with estrogen, and our tween students, the main side effects of that is a little bit of edema in the vocal folds. The result of that is that the sound is a little airy. It's hard for there to be a very clean adduction, and that's okay because it's going to go away. It's just what it is for now. The other interesting thing about androgens versus estrogen progesterone is that with testosterone, it tends to happen over a very short timeline, like between 2 and 12 months. Very short. The estrogen thing can take anywhere from a year to 3 years. I've even worked with people who I swear it would be more than 3 years, but the data said 3 years. So I will repeat that, but about 3 years. So for girls, that transition is slower, takes longer. That's how it is. And then, of course, if you've worked with women, you know that it's very typical for the woman's voice to behave a little bit differently the day before her period and the first day of her period. They get an estrogen, or is it progesterone surge at that time. And so the voice behaves a little bit differently. Sometimes they don't even notice it. Sometimes it really bothers them. Now, there's another hormone that I want to talk about, and that is cortisol, our stress hormone. There was a really good study on women's voices that used sonic information, electronic information, and physiological markers. So they can't really take the tissue and say, what do we got in here? But they can listen and see the result of phonation at different times of life and at different times of the month and under different circumstances. We know that stress affects our voice. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably fair to assume, it's probably fair for us to speculate that there are indeed hormone receptors for cortisol on the vocal folds, and that could be and probably is a main reason why we hear stress affecting our ability to phonate with the consistency and agility that we would like to experience. There are things we can do for our clients when they are experiencing these changes based on more hormones running around the old bloodstream. So the things that we can do for them, what can we do for them? Let's talk about that. I think this is the most important thing, in my opinion. We can inform them and reassure them, particularly our younger people. When they hear and feel their voices sounding different, feeling different, behaving differently, it's very concerning to them, as well it should be. They are only 12, so they don't know that this happens to everybody. And especially the estrogen influenced voices are going to hear themselves going from this clear childlike tone to this kind of fuzzy thing that I call angel voice, because to me that's what it sounds like. And they're going to be really concerned and very self-conscious, and they're going to think there's something wrong with them. And how many women, oh my gosh, it breaks my heart to imagine how many women just stop singing when they go through menopause because their voices feel and sound different to them, and they don't like it, and they think it's permanent, and they think they can't do anything about it. And so your job is to inform them and reassure them. All of this stuff can be dealt with. We can sing through all this. We can find the joy in our voices through these changes. It is fine. So that's the first thing. Inform them, reassure them. You're the expert. And then the next thing is take it easy, dial it down for lessons and for practice. If you have been working on really fast runs or embellishments, just set that aside for a minute and work on sort of the coordinating parts, helping your people just navigate the changes. Helping them understand that today it's doing this, but that doesn't mean it's going to be doing that next week. So let's learn to work with what we have today and do the best that we can today, and just be gentle and nurturing to the voice as it is going through a change, right? And the other thing is consistency. So this is a really interesting thing. By the way, if you are listening to this and you have any interest at all in the singing voice through menopause, the book Singing Through Change is a must. So encourage consistency. So a little bit every day. Singers tend to think that we can just not sing for 5 days or a week or whatever, and then just open our mouths and sing, which may have been the case when you were 35. But it's really not the case when you are 12 and 13 or when you are 48 or 55. It's just not how it is. When we're going through those times of change, consistency is key. A little bit every day makes a huge difference during those times. So there we go. Those are my suggestions for you and for you to help your singers through these times when there's a lot of hormonal influx, which causes changes and irregularities in the voice that can feel really disconcerting to your person. Inform them and reassure them. Take it easy, dial it down, and encourage consistency. And everybody will be so much happier. Our voices are part of our identity. And when they're not behaving the way we expect them to all the time, it can be really devastating. So be that person for your singers. Be reassuring. Give them the information. Let them know how it is. I hope this helped you today. Have a great week. Bye-bye.